Hello and welcome to Mo Inspiration, a podcast where we look at successful individuals and see how they found their journey to success. We bring on athletes, finance specialists, we bring in anyone that's found success in life. Success is completely subjective, so it brings us an array of guests onto the show. So I would like to introduce Brother Shams today. Brother Shams, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, as you said, brother. My name is Shams, from London. I actually work in the investment side, but I don't think I would like to be talking about that when it comes to success. But I like to talk about our cycling, our cycle club, H&K Cycle Club. Alhamdulillah, it's been running for the last 8 years now. We're actually on our eighth year, and it started off quite small, and we're still going each year in strength.
Okay, so talk to me about your cycling club. Let's go on to your cycling club first. So we'll introduce the cycling club as it is. So what is the name of your cycling club?
Yeah, so the club is called H&K Cycle Club. The root of the club, again, like I said, was around 7 8 years ago that we started. It was a bunch of us that was under the Hope and Knowledge umbrella that used to do that still does actually events like cycling, trekking, Islamic talks, and then through those events does fundraising for different causes through different charities. And cycling was one of them. We took part in a European cycle event, 10 of us. And through the process of those 3 days cycling, the bond and the brotherhood that was created from that, we come back and we just decided that we want to continue providing cycling and organizing cycling events. And I became the group leader. And because there was more focus on the cycling side, we decided to have the cycling side in its own element, have its own entity basically. So it kind of focused away from Hope and Knowledge, became H&K Cycle Club. And alhamdulillah, done amazing events since then, and each year we're growing now as a club. So, I mean, just to talk about two of our events that we do, one of them is our national ride. And what I mean by that is we'll once a year we'll take part in around 70 80 mile ride. It is mainly to attract non-cyclist, non-HNK members to take part in it for a charity or a different cause. So, for example, last year we did London to Dover. Previous year we did London to Margate, London to Hastings, London to Portsmouth, Oxford, Cambridge. Those were our events that we did each year for a national ride. And what that does is it kind of gives opportunity for a lot of our brothers out there to kind of take part in an event. We provide full cycle training and everything for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, running to the event itself. And then, alhamdulillah, yeah, they take part. And what we normally get from that is people after the event, they said, you know what, I like to continue cycling. How do I do it? And this is when we say, right, there's a cycle club. If you want to join, we have Saturday training. Every Saturday we go out there, train, and that's it. And then that's how they join. So that's sort of the national rights side of things. And then we have for our own club members. Alhamdulillah, we've got about 80 plus club members within our H&K Cycle Club. We have our flagship European event. This is the one we actually did and formed the whole H&K Club from that event. We call it the Three Cities, which is, in a nutshell, cycling through three European cities over 3 days, approximately 300 miles. There's a lot of threes in there. 8 years ago, like I said, that 10 of us, the original team that did it, we started off from back of East London Mosque,
Okay.
and we cycled the three cities. The first one was London, The Hague,
Okay.
and Brussels. So we complete those three cities, we come back, and was basically where the whole club inspiration everything started from there. And now we go back each year to the city that we've previously finished off from, and we continue another three cities. It's a 10-year project. Alhamdulillah, we are now, this year, we're on our eighth three cities, and about 2 more years to go, and we will come to the complete and inshallah arrive at Istanbul, where Europe meets Asia. So that is our goal with three cities.
So inshallah, so you got another 2 more years left.
Yeah.
And have you done any have you not done any event this year? So you're still waiting to do this year's event?
Yeah, so three city events usually takes place during the summer break.
Okay.
So usually around on end of August sort of time. So inshallah. So this year's plan. Last year we finished off in Zagreb, in Croatia.
Okay.
This year we're looking to start from Zagreb to enter our new country this time, which is Bosnia.
Right.
Touching to Banja Luka, one of the cities, second city, and then the third city will be in Sarajevo.
Okay. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So obviously you've got yourself a goal.
Yeah.
Obviously, alhamdulillah, you've almost completed your goal. Have you already set your next goal for after getting to?
Not yet. I mean, I do have some plans what I want to do, because what I think with the three cities, it kind of kept me really preoccupied with it because every year it was a mission. If we want to do any three cities in any part of the world, it would have been a lot easier. It's a
Yeah.
blank canvas, right? We want to go there, we just do it. Where we've got the continuation thing,
Yeah.
what I have to do is now the challenge of it is right. Last year we finished off in Zagreb. Now this year I need to start from Zagreb and I need to find three cities within reasonable cycling distance.
Yeah.
You know, for example, and I always tell people I don't have a blank canvas. I can't put cities where I want it to be.
Yeah.
Right? Cities are already there, so I have to find three cities that we can cycle within reasonable distance. And for us, the reasonable distance max we can probably go about 100. Well, in the past we've gone about 130 miles between a destination, two destination. We can't. I mean, if it happens to be like there's a city now is 300 miles away, next available city, then we're stuck.
Okay.
It mess. Alhamdulillah, so far we managed to get away with it, and even for this year, we still managed to find three cities within a reasonable distance to cover within 3 days.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is you've got two aspects of it. You've got the whole cycling, so the let's say the physical endurance of it,
Yeah.
but then you've also got the whole planning of it as well and the whole logistics of it.
Yeah,
Now, I think both obviously have their own struggles in itself.
yeah.
I mean, you'd consider, you must be considered to be fit and being able to cycle pretty easily. But do you tend to have obviously now some of these struggles being somebody that's already joined you
Yeah.
and struggled with the three cities? Do you recommend that they do the local stuff first, or are you happy just to take on a newbie straight onto your three cities?
Yeah, so for our three city one is predominantly for exclusively for our club members.
Okay.
So you can already expect them, they're already cycling. As opposed to the national that I was talking about earlier, we take on literally anyone, complete newbie, and we train them up to do that 70 mile, 80 mile ride. For three cities, it is pretty much established cyclists. Even then, a lot of our members are due for, I mean, still challenging,
Yeah.
right? I mean, last year when we did from Vienna, we started off from Vienna, we went to Maribor, Slovenia, and then for Maribor we went to Zagreb in Croatia. We actually did last year. It's one of those cities we ended up doing three cities and three countries. We started off from Austria, touched into Slovenia, finished off in Croatia. It just happened depending on where.
Yeah.
For example, when we were doing Germany, previous years ago, Germany was so big that in one of the cities, one session of event of three cities, we still in Germany because it's so big. We can't come out of Germany. And some like last year, countries are so narrow. Depending which way we're going, we can literally cross over another country in on the same day.
Okay.
So last year was three countries, and it's still so last year, for example, when we did it first. I mean, I don't know for your listeners or viewers, they may not understand the lingo or the stats, but for example, when we did first from Vienna to Maribor, we covered 120 miles over 8,000 feet elevation of
Okay.
climb. I mean, these were, I mean, I'm talking about there were climbs when 7 miles long climb.
Yeah.
Gradual, but they just keep on going.
Yeah.
And you know the ones you see on TV, just go like spiral,
Yeah.
going round and round. It was one of those stuff. So our riders definitely find it challenging, and most of them try to actually nickname me Shamsul.
Shamsul.
Because they always seem to think that I find hills and they seem somehow I just magically put it in front of us. You know, I do like hills. I mean, it's challenging, and that's what it's about. The full name of the three cities is called Three Cities Cycling Challenge. Alhamdulillah, it is, and so far, each and every three cities we did, it has some an element of challenge involved. And as you touched on before, logistic wise, so well again, we're a non-profit organization. And the way we work with logistics is we need to have our cycle stuff and our luggage, everything to be taken to the city we're going to start off from.
Yeah.
As a team, we're flying over there. So, for example, last year when we started from Vienna, we flew over to Vienna. We need our bikes and our stuff there, and then we needed to come back. And we have brothers who actually volunteer their time to drive a van 2 days before, take all our stuff, drive to the city. We arrive, and they arrive at the same time. They then support us along the three days of cycling, and then they actually drive back to London again. And so that sort of stuff also needs to be planned as well. So for me personally, if I'm honest, three cities I never really enjoy it purely because the burden is on my shoulders. I just generally think, is it going to be a success? Because unlike other events people do, they tend to recycle the same one every year. For us, even though we're doing three cities every year, it's three new cities every year. So it's a complete different challenges are coming across. I haven't done those routes before, so I'm spending my time doing the routes, checking on the surface of the tarmac. But so doing the three cities, my always concern is: are we going to complete? Is there going to be any issues? Are we going to have any incidents? The route that I did, is that going to be realistically possible for people to complete it? So when day one is complete, a little bit of a relief. It's only on day three when I get to the hotel, it's like, you know what, I can now fully enjoy it. It's a bit too late now. I've done the three cities, but the sense of relief and the satisfaction knowing the fact that it's another successful event under our belt, and it's been going on like this for the last 7 years, and subhanAllah, it's been amazing.
So obviously, when you obviously do your research, is it just everything online, or do you go visit the cities beforehand?
No, unfortunately, I don't have that privilege to
Yeah.
go over there. Otherwise, yeah, that would have been amazing. So no, yeah, it's literally online. Just looking over things using Google Maps, Google Earth, looking at local cities to see how the road surfaces are.
Yeah.
It's pretty much online. But alhamdulillah, with the Europe, it's a lot easier because it's
More modern.
Yeah. And things are available online, and you can just access everything there.
I believe you're going to go to Bosnia soon, aren't you? Well,
Yeah. So
That's why you're probably
as of last year now, as we're hitting more towards Far East, it's going to be different.
Yeah, the road's going to be different.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you one thing example. We got so used to traveling in Europe, cycling Europe, that you can't actually tell when you leave a country and you enter another one.
Okay.
It is that, I mean, like I say, it'll be like a normal residential road, and we're cycling through. Next minute, we know, hold on a minute, number plate just changed. It was DE before, Germany, and now it's F, like France. I'm like, when did we change? When did we move? And you try to go back, and there'll be like a little sign on the side of a road that says, with this F with the European logo, EU logo with F in it to say this is France.
So just completely open. So I presume, but people's
Absolutely.
you see things on TV. Look at borders, all fenced off.
Yeah.
It's not like that. I presume because it's Europe and it's free trade.
It's completely. I mean, like I said, I mean, it's really difficult to even comprehend it, because it's almost like our local area, Bark into Ilford, right? When you're going, you don't know which exactly where the border is. It is pretty much like that. And it was quite surreal to see that. It's like, and we got so used to all these years until last year, when we went from Austria, which was mainland Europe, and then we hit into Slovenia. Okay, we're getting a bit into it, and then from Slovenia we had to enter Croatia, and it was like exactly how you see in the movies, border police, right? Stop there. They're almost like military style, right? We had to stop there. I was showing evidences with just charity, with cycling, kept us there for hours. It was like 11 o'clock at night. We've just been cycling for 2 days. We just want to get to a hotel because we still got next day cycling. Yeah, they kept us there. They checked our passports. Just unnecessary checks and border checks. It's something that we wasn't used to, but I think we need to get used to it now as we come out.
Yeah, and I think I just want to touch back on that. So there was obviously two other questions I was going to ask. Is obviously the safety element. One, obviously your regular safety as a rider. We know that especially in this I'm sorry to say it, but I don't like cyclists on the road when I'm a driver. Yeah, I'm not too fond of them just weaving in and out, almost clipping your, But you get your good and you get your bad.
Yeah.
Right. So I've tried to cycle myself. So I was at university. I was like, I can't afford the taxis. I'm a good 5 miles away from uni. Let me get a road bike. Got a road bike. Get punctured every week. It was not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
I love the downhill bit. Going back up, and Leicester's a little bit of a hilly place as well. It doesn't look like it.
Absolutely.
It doesn't look like it, but there's some points where the chain kept coming off, and then I remember just losing brakes at one point going down the hill. I was like, okay, And then I gave up at the end. Maybe it was the bike was about only 250. It wasn't a proper.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't a proper road bike. Probably could have had the seat cushioned as well a bit better. Probably didn't have the right shoes as well. But I didn't have any information. I just bought a bike from Halfords and gone, right, that's it. Here we go. But yeah, so but then cycling. Then I realized how dangerous it can be with cars and buses and everything like that. You've got that in London, fair enough. But when you're going over to, let's say, European countries, how is it like? Because obviously, have you driven? I don't know whether you've gone through Amsterdam as part of your three cities, but I've never seen a city that's pro cycle. Like, they've got more right on the road than cars have. Right, and that kind of annoyed me looking at it. Even though I was walking about, I was like, how dare they? How dare they have more right than say, because I'm a driver at the end of the day. This is unheard of. So, I mean, let's talk about that safety aspect first.
Well, before I get to that, I just want to say to your listeners, I'm surprised you've been an anti-cyclist actually invited me in.
It's just one of those.
No, I'm just messing. No, absolutely. Listen, it is. Just to touch base in terms of danger and definitely it's there. I mean, we are vulnerable on the road. You can use ratios to say, like you said, they're good and bad cyclists, they're good and bad drivers as well, motorists out there. But the way I look at it, at the end of the day, a motorist being a bad driver isn't as much risk as being a cyclist because we're much more vulnerable.
Yeah.
We're much more susceptible. Any sort of injury can be a lot bigger than for a motorist is. That is there. That's always plays in our mind when we're cycling, especially in London. It's a lot busier, cosmopolitan city. But alhamdulillah, with that experience, you build confidence. I've been cycling for last 9 years now with the club, and probably one incident that I had.
Okay.
Again, that's completely not even my fault when a motorbike actually just directly from the opposite side just came straight onto me and hit me with it.
Another two-wheeler then.
Another two-wheeler with a motor on it. Other than that, alhamdulillah, been fine. We're either cycling in the countryside or in actual central London. One thing I want to say though is cycling in Europe, it is, I don't know, 100 times safer than London and UK. Their attitude towards cyclists is far, far different, a lot more positive.
Okay.
I mean, especially like you mentioned Holland. That was our one. We did it 2 years, but one first year, in fact, we went from London, we went to The Hague.
Yeah.
And the following year from Brussels, we back into Maastricht, for example. So we were still in Holland a lot of the time. Those countries, they're just amazing. Even Germany, France. To be fair, all these European countries so far have been amazing. I mean, you'll see, for example, a car want to pull out into the road, and we're cycling, and there's ample of space. I'm thinking, okay, he's going to pull out, but they don't. They actually sit there and they will let us pass. And I'm thinking, if that was in England, a lot closer, and I've been in a situation where I've been a lot closer, and they still pull out without any consideration for the cyclists. But yeah, they're much more considerate towards cyclists. Alhamdulillah, yeah, it has its own challenges. So, for example, one of the things that we're not used to is the tram lines.
Oh yeah.
In Europe, right? My God, they've been so messy for us because so as soon as we enter a city, likes of Brussels, likes of Antwerp, Basel, so on, even Prague. As soon as you enter the city, you've got tram lines in the middle, and the problem with tram lines is it's flushed on the floor on the main road. So you got cars going, and you got the tram line, and it's on parallel to the same thing. So and we all cycle with the road bikes, so our tires are
very
really thin and narrow. Over there, the local cyclists, they actually cycling a lot more wider tires. They can actually probably go over the tram line. So with us, there's been a couple of few incidents already where wheels been got stuck in there and coming off and all that. So yeah, that's been one of our downsides too. But other than that, generally it's been really amazing cycling in Europe. Most of the time we're cycling in the country lanes, so it's just literally open road, fields. It's amazing.
So the other aspect of the these, obviously we look at struggles as well. Being a Muslim, going through let's say Europe, I tend to find, well, you tend to think obviously maybe the UK is a bit more accommodating of Muslims in terms of what you hear. Obviously the rest of Europe happening. Now myself and I'm telling your brother Mick, we were planning to drive all the way up to Greece, help out the refugee camps, and we really had to look at our routes as well.
Yeah.
and to see whether, every time where we'd get stopped, how we'd get stopped, and etc. And we were going to do a charity drive, essentially, just drive all the way in one go. And then we kind of realized it's not going to happen. We'll do it in a few stops on the way.
Yeah.
But when we get into certain countries, not very fond of Muslims, let's just say, and then we realized we had to reroute over certain countries as well, just
To avoid them.
to avoid them. So going around through Bosnia and everything like that, and then avoiding certain countries as well, just so that we wouldn't get targeted or something like that. Now, so obviously you went to the border with Croatia, and that's when you first saw it all military, almost militarized,
Yeah, yeah.
obviously border. I think you've had the benefit of obviously just driving throughout, cycling throughout, possibly with no other problems going through things, through obviously borders. But have you had any issues?
Yeah, so to be fair, we've always had that concern, and especially I guess probably earlier part of our three cities when we started off, there was a lot of when in the media brings up a lot of anti-Islamic stuff and terrorism that's going on, and those are the years when we went to go three cities. We had a concern that especially when we were going to place like Austria, Germany, and we thought, you know what, are we going to have any issues because there's about 26 of us there. We stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And with our beard, skin color, and we're wearing. I mean, we have hoodies. So when we're not cycling, we have hoodies like yours.
Yeah.
We have like our cycle club and the charity that we've been supporting that year. So it's always been in the back of our head. But I must say, alhamdulillah, it's actually been opposite. So even the year I remember there was a lot of terrorism stuff going on, anti-Islamic stuff, in the air, and we were into Germany and just a day before cycling, we just arrived and we went out to a local place to eat. Again, bunch of us wearing these hoodies, sticking out like a sore thumb. Like I said, no, we can. And locals were like asking us, oh, what are you guys doing and whatnot. And then when we told them, they just gave us money towards a donation.
No, okay.
Yeah, they just gave it 20 euros, 10 euros. Said, oh yeah, can you, amazing thing you guys are doing. The local businesses that were there, when they found out what we're doing, they just gave us free food.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's only recent in Croatia we saw that. And again, but I'm not sure whether whether it's racism or
Or just
Islamophobic,
security.
or is it just generally they just being who they are. I mean, usually border police and all that can be very strict and very different. Unnecessary checks and stuff they were doing just to kind of prove, stamp the authority sort of thing.
Yeah.
But having said that, what they did to us though was when I kept insisting, look, let us go because there's nothing issue here. I've got the letter, I've got evidence of our hotel being booked, which is very not far away. And then I've showed him the evidence that we're not going to stay there because our next day's hotel is in Zagreb, and here's our flight information. We're flying back next day as well. So I gave all of that, and he's like, no, we have to wait. We have to wait for police to come. It's not safe out there. I go, no, it's fine. I've done the route. It's a one straight line. Yeah. And they actually got a police car to come, and they actually escorted us
Okay.
at night to the hotel. But again, whether to make sure that we go into the hotel.
Yeah.
And but they did that. They actually had a police car, and that was a really interesting experience as well. When the police car was literally escorted us to the hotel. Not in a bad way, because it wasn't in a bad way at all. Because I
obviously.
tell you why. I mean, I guess it's not even to even check on it because some of us were a lot faster. So a few of us actually set off, and we passed the police car already. The police car was going at a certain pace for some of the riders.
Yeah.
So if he was to keep us, make sure we all go in the same place, that wasn't the purpose because a group of us already left and we were away from that. So if that was the intention, clearly not, because obviously half of us was already gone. So that wasn't so bad.
Okay. So it's not as bad as it could have been. That's what I
No.
think. I think obviously, and I'd like to go up to the point, obviously, with it being very anti-Muslim, especially France and a few other countries as well en route, you just never know what you're going to go through. But it's good to see, or it's good to hear that you haven't gone through that. Maybe because you were a large group and you weren't just a 2 or 3 or something like that.
Yeah, that could be for me. Maybe if there was any sort of couple of thugs that want to have an issue where they saw 26 of us, probably thought leave it. But even then, just generally, like seeing from the cars, you wouldn't see anyone shouting anything at us and just driving off because they could easily do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Funny thing is when we cycle towards Southend, we get that. When we're cycling towards Southend is one of our popular routes, especially in the summer. As soon as we're getting towards Southend, you'll hear like some driver open the window saying something and just driving off, sort of thing. You get that.
Is it racial slurs or is it just?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was talking about just towards the whole idea of cyclists.
Cyclists. No, that would probably you probably doing that.
Yeah,
to us.
yeah.
No, it wasn't that.
I'll keep an eye out
unfortunately.
next time. There's them lot. Let's give them a bit of a stick.
So in terms of, I just want to touch on, because obviously even when I look back, for the last 7 years of 3 cities, and we've actually covered, because sometimes on that 3 cities it's become the bonus city as well. So for
Okay.
example, let's just say when we did the first year, we went from our official tour was from London to The Hague, from The Hague to Brussels. But between The Hague and Brussels, we went through Antwerp, and we touched into Antwerp as well, which is another city in Belgium. And through that, alhamdulillah, we actually went through so far 21 cities. Again, just to talk a little, talk about inspiration and achievement. Every time I'm doing it, I'm just thinking about the 3 cities I'm going to do. Now, 7 years later, looking back and think, you know what, I've actually covered 21 cities, 11 countries, just through pedaling. Yeah, even for me, someone who cycles, and when I'm looking at the map of Europe, and I got the line, I'm like, I did this, and I went there, and I went there, and it's like, it's very difficult to comprehend that all of that was just powered by legs. Don't get me wrong. Most of the time, it's not all being kind of hunky dory and smiling, and there's laughs. I still remember. I mean, you talked about before the struggle and the challenges, but with 3 cities, I think one of the challenges always been is it's a challenge, whether it's long distance or whether it's climb involved. I've always said in cycling, there's 3 elements of challenge. You've got the distance that can make it challenging. You've got the elevation that can make it challenging, or you got the weather.
Yeah.
So if it's raining, if it's windy, and one of the 3 cities, I still can't remember where it was. I think we're heading towards Munich. From Zurich, we're going towards Munich, and we stopped over at a German town called Memmingen, and it was a 120-mile route. And at that time, we used to do our 3 cities in October half term, so it was bordering into winter, and it was a really cold, wet day, and we've just done about 90 odd miles, 80 miles done, and the remaining 40 miles left. And by that time, like I say, it was cold, we were shivering, we were wet, and there's about 3 of us that were doing it to get together, and we climbing right in the pitch dark. We got a lights, absolute pitch dark in the country lanes, and we're climbing, and it just got to a bit where there was just a house on top of it. It's the house that you see in Grand Design.
Yeah.
In a mass, really grand, and it's all glass. And I've kind of always told the story to everyone because it still stick to me on that day. And it was a Saturday night as well. And got at the top, and I see this family inside, right, by this log fire, having dinner together, right. And I looked at that, and I was like, I go to my friend out there, I go, bro, why do we do this? Like, why am I doing this for? I could have been at home today in the warmth, with my family and everything. Why am I doing this to myself? Like, here I am, hungry, cold, weak. Where I just want to, I really can't do this anymore. Like, why do I do this stuff for? Put myself to this hardship. I don't have to. It's not my job. I don't get paid for this. And I got really emotional. And then got to the hotel. And normally, like I said, I really hide my emotion quite well. And called on my wife just to explain to her. And I was talking to her. And I just got all emotional at that time. I suppose the first time I almost broke down, like what I just went through and seeing that and everything. But I must say, because like I said, even that day when I would go to the hotel, everything just drenched, right? Just put it on the side, have a shower, have something to eat. And next day, back to normal again. It's like carried on. Because I think at the end, when you complete the 3 cities, I think you've got the challenges, right? You've got the hardship behind it. But then you got the achievement.
Okay.
And when you get to that end, the feeling that you get with a sense of achievement, all that pain was just temporary.
Yeah.
And they seem to go a lot quicker as soon as you've achieved it. Now it's like, you know what? Now I look back, I remember those struggles, but I say with a smile on my face.
Yeah.
But because what I've achieved, like I was just telling you before, 21 cities, 11 countries. Somebody said that to me 8 years ago. In 7 years, you're going to be cycling through 21 cities 1 hour, and now I ain't cut out for that. I'm not doing something like this. This is beyond me. So again, it's really amazing that when you look back, and I think one thing I've noticed through cycling is that pain is a temporary form.
Yeah.
Whereas an achievement, a success, is something that lingers forever and stays with you.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I think obviously I've not done anything towards towards that
No,
level.
but I'm sure you can kind of.
I mean, for me it was Hajj. For me
Yeah.
it was Hajj. I mean the pain in my legs, the
Oh, yeah,
feet.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
think.
And the patience, right?
And the
yeah,
patience,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I took something back after that. Something I should remember every so often, though.
Yeah.
But it's like after doing that, I came back with that mindset: is if I can do Hajj, I can do anything.
Yeah, Dave.
Like it is temporary. That what you're going through is temporary, but the achievement to this day of doing Hajj, for example, I'm so proud of it.
Yeah,
And it's something that you can shout about, saying, Alhamdulillah, I've done it,
Yeah.
I managed to do it. Yes, there was one day I couldn't actually do the stoning because my feet were gone. It was just, there was too many blisters on the bottom of the feet. Athlete's foot just went crazy. And obviously Dad had to do that on my behalf. I think that was the second or third day. And even doing the tawaf in the last day, feet were gone, and it didn't help that somebody ran over my foot or my injured feet already with a wheelchair, and I was just there, just going, "Oh my gosh!"
Don't
And then,
remind me of that.
Yeah.
I remember doing tawaf in the Mataf area,
Yeah.
and feet's already swollen,
Yeah.
right? And somebody obviously left date stones, and I stepped on it. Already tended heels, right? And
Yeah.
if it just went, I could almost feel like the date stone just went through my skin. And I was such excruciating pain, but what do? You just keep yourself thinking. And there was time when I was walking from Mina to Makkah in the heat, and I just couldn't find it. And at the end, I was so desperate that the beggars on the street, and she was drinking water from a bottle, and I just paid her, so let me have that. And I took the bottle off. I asked her, and she said, she gave me the half a bottle. And I paid for it, and I drank from that because, I was just that sort of desperate. But all of that, at the end of the day, when you look back, it's the achievement that you look back.
Yeah, it's an achievement, definitely.
And the privilege of an honor
Yeah.
of able to do something like that. It's an amazing.
Definitely. Yeah, there's something that obviously it's that mindset of thinking, if you can do that, it's just temporary. And I think after that, I remember just going back and then thinking, I can do this, I can do that. I've done Hajj, I can do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that
so
was,
you use that as your kind of benchmark, right?
Yeah, what I've experienced.
Yeah, for yourself, that's your benchmark.
That's my
now.
benchmark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I can pray on the street now. That's not a problem. Before you were a little bit subconscious about just praying on the street. You have to have a prayer mat. No, you don't really have to have a prayer mat. Obviously, just if you see a dog peeing there, obviously don't pray. They don't pray there. But you know what I mean. I remember actually there was Jummah and Gansa Mosque, and it was overflowing onto the street. And brothers were like, "I don't have a jacket. I don't have a jacket." I remember just saying to the brothers, I said, brothers, the people of Makkah and Medina, when it comes obviously to Salah, if the mosques are full, they pray on the road. So what are we doing, complaining about it?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, so obviously that's just through the experience. But I think obviously you got yourself obviously, and I think it's having that mindset of, I think you have to go through something for then you to have that benchmark of saying, all right, it's temporary. I think you have to experience that. And I think if you've not been fortunate to, and I say it's a struggle because it is a struggle.
Yeah.
But once you've superseded that struggle, once you've surpassed that struggle and you've become achievement, that achievement is something that you said is a pain is temporary, achievement's there for for the lifetime.
That will last forever.
The lifetime that helps you, that molds you as a person. They say life experiences will mold you as a person. And I think unfortunately, and it's a shame that some people have lived such comfortable lives that they don't have that. And I think they're the ones that kind of struggle more.
Yeah.
And I said obviously, and it's not just their fault, it's about being young as well. Sometimes you live a sheltered life being young. And again, this is the whole point of this podcast, is to actually look at a mindset, at people's mindsets, and go, right, you're 15, 16-year-old, you're not been taught a lot about business, you want to start your business, you've started a business, it's not done too well, okay, you've not had the direction or whatnot, boom, all right, it's not happened, you're not going to do it again. That's not the right mentality to have. And I think it's just that the thing is that Pinnacle's, all right, forget about what went wrong, learn from what went wrong, rather than just dwelling on what went wrong. Learn about what went wrong and how you're going to learn from that as well. And I think this is the whole point of the podcast as well. Obviously, it's a bit different. I'm not talking about business right now. We're talking about cycling. But it's all, what is it you'll see along with the podcast for the listeners and the viewers as well, is that it's that mindset. It's a mindset of being consistent.
Yeah.
But learning as well. We're learning from previous mistakes and wanting to learn as well.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have that desire.
Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely have to have that desire.
Like, you basically touched on mindset. And wallahi, I'll tell you this now. When a lot of cyclists join us and they say, how do you do these sort of distances, like with these elevation? And I've always said to them, it's not actually the physical side of it that does it.
Yeah.
And the guys that ride with me would actually testify to that. Is that because in our cycle club, we've got people that are a lot bigger, older, younger, size-wise, different sizes. Some guys skinny, some guys are quite a lot bigger, but they all can all complete it. And it's not because this one can do this sort of distance or this gruesome climbs because he's skinny, he's young. It's got nothing to do with that. What it is at the end of the day, what you just touched about is the mindset. It's the mind. The moment, because like I said, bro, there's been many times those 3 cities and other events that we did, like one of them, me and my friend that we did, and we cycled from London to Cardiff, 200 miles in one day. You know, what actually powered us to get there wasn't so much of our legs. Our legs were gone.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, our legs were gone by the time we reached Oxford, which was in 80 miles. We still had another 120 miles to go. What actually powered us to carry on was our mindset, was that, you know what, we don't want to give up. We can do this because we're together and we've done these sort of climbs before. So like you said, using a benchmark. So even now in UK, when we do any sort of climb, and obviously I'm still struggling, I still may find, oh my God, this is a climb. But because I've got experience behind me now, I can relate to it. I can say, hold on, I remember that climb in Switzerland. That climb, it was gruesome, and I managed to overcome that. So therefore, that inspires me and gives me that sort of strength to know I should be able to do this one then, because I've done it before. It's that, but it's the mindset, and I've found the cyclists who actually struggle are the ones who, the moment because what I would call it is a battle with the nafs.
Yeah.
So what I go through a lot of the time in my cycling is, in my head, I'm saying, it's a battle I'm going. So my body's saying, look, just give up. And mine's saying, no, you're not going to give up. You're going to keep doing it because you've got guys behind you. You don't want to fail this, because you fail this, they're going to want to quit. So when you're going through that battle going on, right, in yourself, it tires you out a little bit, but that's what keeps driving you. The moment you say to yourself, actually, yeah, I'm finding this tough, I don't think I can do it anymore. That's when your body just gives up, because your body almost like got the green light to say, yeah, we can shut down now. We can't, our legs are tired.
Yeah.
Until your mind doesn't give up, the leg just continues. And I've seen many experiences of that, where it's not the other way around. The leg doesn't give up first. The body doesn't give up first. It's the mind.
And I think it's good to, we say, renew your intentions every time you're doing something as well.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's an Islamic intention or just a personal intention or a personal mindset, just remind yourself. Obviously, you can look at me, I'm not the most fittest guy, but in January I decided, obviously, I just had COVID in December, so, I'm still recovering from being out of breath and stuff. And then January came. Sorry?
Just like a long COVID.
Yeah, I think long COVID is something, alhamdulillah, I'm not, I know I'm not 100% right now, but it's not as bad as some other people. And unfortunately, a lot of people, the study of long COVID is only new as well.
Yeah.
But I know some people suffering from long COVID quite badly, but my mum being one of them as well. But alhamdulillah, I'm almost there, but but then I kind of thinking I might just really unfit anyway. But yeah, that's one of those ones. Am I getting out of breath?
Get a bike.
Yeah, get a bike. I'm not doing bikes anymore. So obviously in January, I set myself a 100-mile walking challenge during the month of January.
Yeah.
I've got 30 days. All right. I've got 30 days. Let me do 100 miles. The quicker I do it in the first 15 days, the easier the last 15 days are. And I remember one, I think it was my last week. And obviously, remember, if you're not walking, your feet, if you're not used to it, feet are going to start blistering straight away. Your legs get tired. I remember mornings I couldn't even get up.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gansel being a bit of a hilly area as well. It's not just one flat surface. And then, you're there walking. I remember taking the dog with me for the last few days. Anyway, I remember that last 7 days was just pouring with rain. Absolutely pouring with rain. I wanted to stop. I really got sick of it. It was to the point that I was like, I've had enough. I've actually had enough, because it was just pouring it was heavy rain. It was cold. We still had that cold, that winter cold as well coming in. It was windy, and I just remember just having my headphones, just remember why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? At the end of the day, inshallah, I'll be rewarded for. So obviously the money we raise money. I'll raise money, obviously, for water projects around the country with One Nation, etc., and Muslim charities. So it was just like having that mindset. I just remember renewing your intentions, and I think sometimes we forget why we do things.
Yeah.
And even on a day-to-day basis, and I think if you got yourself a challenge or a goal, remind yourself what that goal is, because we often forget, and sometimes when we do forget why we're doing things, it's easy just to give up.
Yeah, so basically, you touched on something, and I can relate to that. So our club motto is basically the hadiths, which is innama a'malu binniyat, actions by intention.
Okay.
That is our club motto, and we always tell people, keep your intention clear, keep your intention straight, and your action will follow. Um, and just like that, for example, a lot of the cyclists that done three cities in the past, they may not be as strong as the other ones. I
Yeah.
mean, we obviously, like I said, even though we take our club members out of the 26 riders, there's still disparity between stronger riders and not so strong riders. And the ones are not so strong, they would still tell me, you know what, Chance, mate, I was struggling on those hills, but when I was going through the struggle, I realized I had to ask myself why I'm doing this. I've asked my friends and family to donate for this particular cause. Now I have to do it for them. It's not
Yeah.
for me anymore. Automatically, you've now linked your cycling to something far greater,
Yeah.
which is a project, which is a Sadaqah
100%.
Jariyah, which is charity. And because it's not now, it's not just about you know, yourself anymore. It's something far greater. You connected that, and you think, you know what? I'm obviously, don't get me wrong. If they stop cycling there, fundraising still happened, and they've already raised the money.
Yeah.
But it's the intention, right? Look, I told people I'm going to cycle from
Yeah.
A to B. They've given the money. It's the honourable thing for me to do is carry on and just do
Yeah.
it. And this is where they drew their strength from. I found it quite amazing when they were telling me that. They say, you know, I drew my strength when I was going through that weakest moment, climbing the hills and wet and cold. I reminded myself why I'm doing this for.
Yeah.
And subhanAllah, they found barakah and they found strength within that, and that's what carried them. And then even for us to look back, and then I was just telling you about our achievement from the cycling side, i.e., on our three cities, we've done 21 cities, 11 countries. Alhamdulillah, brilliant, right? Something to shout about from top of the mountain, right? And then with our national ride, for example, where we've helped a lot of non-cyclists that would never have cycled before, and I'm talking about fathers who are in their 40s, in their 50s even, who just gave up cycling and they said, you know what, it's for a good cause, I'll just probably go there. And a lot of the time we hear people saying, bro, you're going to do a 70-mile ride. I get tired just driving 70 miles. This is one of the always common thing I always hear. And moment you kind of get them through the whole process of training, we start them from taking 30-mile, 40-mile training. So as of yet, we never had anyone couldn't do at the national ride, because like I said, most of them are newbies, never cycled before, and then they find that new love for cycling and they take it up and whatnot. But when I look back now, between national ride and three cities, put aside the cycling side of things, the achievement that they've achieved, because a lot of them come and say, bro, you know what, I would never have imagined myself, like, yes, last year when London to Dover, we had a brother who was like in his 50s, and he said, I've never imagined myself actually cycling from London to Dover. Through you guys, you know, you've inspired me, gave me that courage to do it, and this will live with me for the rest of my life. And I thought that was quite touching. But even putting that aside, looking back now, with our national ride in three cities, what we've actually achieved, wallahi, even now, I'm baffled from this, because I look back now, and between our two of the events that we do, and I will put it like this: it's just us pedaling, pretty much just pedaling. Okay, yeah, we go through some struggle of the 3 days of cycling or one day of cycling, but ultimately we're just pedaling right from A to B. Yeah, when I look back now, we have last year with our three cities, we've actually helped in Syria, in Idlib, with 80 houses, three-bedroom apartments, what was built. I think we raised around over £75,000 for this new village in Abdus Salam village in by brother, I don't know if Dr. Shahidul Islam, who actually works closely with One Nation.
Okay.
He's a British doctor in Syria and Idlib. And the other day we just got the video update, and they built all those three-bedroom apartments. And seeing that, you think, hold on, we just achieved that from cycling,
Yeah.
right? Now there's going to be 80 plus families who are not going to be living in tents anymore. They're going to be living in a proper concrete building with bathroom, showers, and everything there. That's one thing. And then with our last Dover ride last year, it's still at the moment being built in Somalia, so in Ethiopia, a village called Suk, a school where the whole village, there was no school there at all. And I think the CEO of Muntada Aid, Brother Hamid, he went there a couple of years ago for another mission, and he said he just saw some children sitting under some shade of a tree, bushes, and which they just had some sort of ink on a wooden platter, like looks like a cricket bat. When he went close to it, he found they were using that as a book, and they were reciting it, and the teacher was there, and the teacher at that time said to them that he's got more students that wants to read, but he can only go with the shade
Yeah.
of these trees, of the bushes that they can learn from. It's like an open field. And that inspired me to kind of help that project. And now there's a school being built. Again, seeing the recent update of the foundation being set up and all that, it just materializes the hard work. So all that sweat and everything that we put through, this is the material reward. That this, which actually is very tangible. And when you start seeing it like that, that's when you realize the achievement that you've done. In the past, previous year, we've two hospitals in Gaza. We've gave them solar panel systems. We've done in Yemen medical aid. Just looking back at so many projects that we've helped, and was helped through our cycling events. It's just amazing. It really does blow you away. Even though I'm part of it, and even then, when you stop and you reflect on what we've achieved through those last 7 8 years, it really does puts a different perspective. Makes you want to carry on cycling, really.
No, that's fantastic, because obviously you're meeting your goals. You're seeing the achievement from you've got the achievement from meeting your goals, and though you've got you had a long-term goal of getting to Istanbul, to Turkey. You've had your own goals at getting there. So every year you're 3 seats, you're 3 seats,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
3 seats. Alhamdulillah, that's obviously then spurred you on. If they weren't happening, if they weren't probably being done, then you probably wouldn't be still motivated just to get to Istanbul, because you hadn't even done the previous stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, we get the point of obviously looking at success, and obviously,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, you seem to be pretty successful in the. I'm not saying successful. Let's not. It's not being saying, "Oh, I'm successful. I'm this great. I'm that great."
Yeah, yeah.
You've met your goals, so you are being successful. You've got a goal, and you're still trying to succeed as well. Being successful doesn't mean you've made it all. It's being successful in a certain area and still trying to further succeed.
Yeah, I think for me, what is really important, like that's what I was saying before. I was not going to talk about my job,
Yeah.
because for me, I think when you talk about success, it's not always monetary term, right?
Yeah.
It's not always about financial term, like have you made enough money. Success for me is having a goal and reaching to that goal.
Yeah.
Success is when you look back and see what you've achieved.
Yeah.
So, like you said, when it comes to cycling element, there's many facets to it. One of them is, yeah, for my personal goal, a challenge was for me to cycle across Europe, for me to get to Istanbul. Now, I could have just done that if I wanted to, go backpacking, take my bike over there, cycle, and come back. But instead, doing it as an event has given others the opportunities to do it. But more importantly, we didn't have to even fundraise, right? We could have just done it ourselves.
Yeah.
But having an element of fundraising into it is now success in many different levels. Personal success, success as a club of achieving this, success as a brotherhood for us.
Yeah.
One thing seeing with HNK, I mean, I know is, from an Islamic perspective, we always talk about brotherhood. And I've seen that on an Islamic perspective, but being part of this cycle club, I have to say I've really understood the concept of brotherhood. We go through hardship with monks. Like the Prophet ﷺ said, that you really get to know someone, and one of them is when you travel with them.
Yeah.
Other one is you do business with them, whatever. So I think the travel one really connects with us because we're always traveling. Whether it be in UK, we're going from London to Oxford, London to Brighton. There's a moment of travel, but these travels are not you're in the car or luxury in the travel. They're hardship,
Yeah,
right?
hardships, definitely.
And through that, you either not going to get along with someone,
Yeah.
or you get along so well
Well.
that you connect. And I'm talking about situations where, we stop and the brother's hungry and he said, you know what, take my food. And that's his last food. You better, no, you need it. And there's a fight. No, you keep it. No, you have it. It's that sort of thing. Or somebody got a puncher. The rest of us are not just sitting there watching him. We all get, even though we know he can do it, it's that brotherhood. We want to help somebody out. We all get tucked in, help with the puncher. Any sort of issues, when we get to destination and we want to eat, there's always this thing of, let me pay for your food. That sort of stuff, you see the brotherhood. And for us now with the HNK, what we've achieved isn't just cycling, I wouldn't say. That's one side. That's just an excuse. That's just what connects us. But what we achieve from that is the brotherhood. And off the saddle, most of us now, our friends are now who we are, who we know from the cycling side of things. So even off the saddle, we'll go out and we'll have a little meal together. Our social side of things as well, that has come out of from cycling. So even though cycling was just a means to get the brothers together, and we still cycle, but there's other things that's happening almost like a collateral from this basically, which wasn't maybe our prime goal when we started cycling, but it's kind of come across, and it's alhamdulillah good to see that as well.
Alhamdulillah. So obviously, I think you kind of answered the question I was going to ask is what do you define as success, but you've really answered it anyway. So alhamdulillah. So it's good to even hear an extension of not just your own personal kind of like just a one worded definition, but or a one sentence definition, but there's examples of that as well. And obviously, everyone's success is different. You said it's not always monetary. For some people, money it can be monetary. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, of course not.
There's nothing wrong with that. So everyone finds it obviously a passion and something that they want to do, and they want to succeed in that.
Yeah.
And I think as long like we go back to mindset, and I think obviously something that obviously I would say is if I wanted to define what makes you successful and what I've learned over these podcasts as well, and what I'm trying to do as well, I'm working on something at the moment, and I realize that if I'm not going to be consistent every day and doing the workload up to it, I'm not going to be able to succeed in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, that being consistency. Now, being obviously you know what consistency is. You're an athlete. You cycle every day. You cycle with a club, so you have to be consistent in what you're doing. Otherwise, if there's no consistency, personally as a rider, but as somebody who's obviously organizer of a group as well, if you're not consistent, you lose that motivation.
Yeah.
You become lazy. Yeah, you fall off because you become lazy. You become complacent.
That, and also I think that will then reflect onto the club.
Yeah.
Your riders will pick that up.
Yeah.
And where at the moment they probably get that motivation, seeing the club being run in an organized way, being consistent with their events, being consistent with their regular club ride. If I or the people that's organizing it are not consistent anymore, we don't deliver those stuff on a regular basis. That then reflects on them. What they seeing is, okay, this club isn't really for us anymore because it's falling apart. It's 1 minute, there's a club ride happening, next minute it's not happening. So then you start losing respect, and then that demotivates others. So as they say, success breeds success. Well, if you yourself are organized, and that motivation will then reflect on other people as well, and they will pick that up, and they can bounce off that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I definitely agree with that. So I think we've come to this point there. Obviously, to the point in the podcast, we've talked about your struggles. Some of it, we've talked about obviously what makes you successful. We've used your examples. We've talked about what's kind of motivated you as well. In terms of obviously just more about the club as well. You talk about obviously you got your 3 cities, and you've got your local, but you're not an organized charity. So you're just a cycling club that has different fundraising goals every year. Was it?
So what we tend to do is we deliberately want to be in this position where we want to stay away from the charity side of things. We want to stay away from the financial side of things. It brings a burden, and then this whole thing about being fit to kind of control the money and all that stuff. So we decided what we'll do is we won't be affiliated with any charities. Rather, because we had in the past, when we worked with different charities, they liked what we did so much that they wanted us to kind of go under the wing.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to be affiliated with any cycle club. We wanted to be independent of where we are. And what that allows us to do is work with different charities as and when we want. So one of the things that we do is each year when we're sitting down and we're discussing about our national ride and our 3 cities for that year. So i.e. at the moment, this is for us is the beginning of our calendar year for cycling. So we'll have a national ride coming up in July. Just going to say it's going to be London to Southampton. And then we're planning our 3 cities in August, for example. Now, with this, when we sit down, we say, right, what sort of cause do we want to help with our national ride? And what sort of cause do we want to support with our 3 cities? Once we've kind of agreed with the team what it is we want, we then look out there and see which charity can actually deliver that. So it might be the fact that, like, for example, when we want to do the school, Muntada Aid had a contract in Ethiopia, and they said, yeah, we've already got something in that region that really needs a school. Brilliant. So let's work with Muntada Aid for this one. Now, with 3 City, when I came across Dr. Shajul Islam from Idlib, the British doctor, I came across his thing about they had a project going on to build a 3-bedroom houses, apartments to take people, families off the tents. So I saw that and I thought, you know what, that's a great cause, right? I mean, this is something, you're not just helping a person, family, and you're giving a man a dignity, right? He doesn't have to live with his family, extended family in tents in the winter time. So again, straight away, contact Dr. Shajul Islam. He put me in touch with One Nation. Again, so then different years, different projects we work, and now looking back again, just like the projects that we've helped and the cities that we did. Now I'm looking back and as a small team that we were now, we've actually make a big impact when it comes to helping projects. We and now looking back, we worked with like so Islamic Help, we worked with Human Relief Foundation, One Nation. In fact, one of the ones we did, which is quite different in the past. Normally, we always tend to work with the humanitarian issues, usually outside of UK, because that's where people are literally. It's not abject poverty; it is poverty,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's crisis going on, whether it's Middle East, Asia, Africa. But one of the events that we did previously, we actually helped a organization in UK, London-based, called Al Ishara. They are actually an organization that supports deaf Muslims.
Okay.
And what I found out through them was that a lot of Muslims who are deaf, they tend to kind of go away from the deen purely because there isn't enough resources for them to learn about. I mean, for you and I, it's brilliant, right? We have got overload of information. We've got on YouTube, Facebook, Islamic stuff is always there.
Yeah.
With them, it really isn't like that. And because the general deaf community in UK is really big, the UK
Yeah.
British Deaf Society, for example, and they are more affiliated with them. So therefore, obviously, non-Muslims, they tend to kind of go away from the deen. So the brother was telling me that when I think a few years back, Islam and Mosque decided to have sign language during the khutbah, a brother who was 55 years old said, "This is the first time I understood a khutbah in my life." Can you imagine that? We take this for granted. The brother never. And one of the project Ali Shah had, or still have at the moment, is to translate the whole of the Quran in sign language, and we supported that. So even though this is something we don't normally do, one of our event, which was London to Margate event, we actually decided to go away from the norm and support a project that's on our doorstep. But that's actually was, for far as I was concerned, that was a crisis.
Yeah.
These are still our brothers and sisters in our ummah, and therefore they've
100%.
been neglected from the deen. And if we can help with the money that we raise for them to complete that project of translating the Quran in sign language, so that the children, I mean, people who are deaf, they're not just always elders, right? Children who are deaf.
And this is something obviously I like to touch upon as well. Helping locally as well.
Yeah.
We do, and obviously we do. You say you have your full out poverty in other countries as well, but as Muslims, we obviously have to help our own Muslim.
Yeah.
Not just Muslim community, but our own community
Own
as well.
community,
As
yeah.
obviously. A community, whether it's your local food banks or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, as Muslims, we lead by example.
Yeah.
And I do want to touch upon something like that as well. Is that and unfortunately, I am going to kind of stray away, but for the viewers and the listeners as well, first and foremost, we're also Muslim. We are Muslim, and a lot of what we do, a lot of where we can get our reward is in charity. Charity is one of the biggest, so it's the easiest thing we can do as well, because when we look at charity, when we donate, our wealth does not decrease. It never decreases. Alhamdulillah, the more you give, the more Allah gives back to you as well. Unfortunately, and I've helped out with a lot of charity work as well over so many years with different organizations. I find that our community, not just a Muslim community, but I would like to say the Pakistani community or Indian community. We look at people with disabilities as whether it's taboo or something that we just don't like to help out with. We just see them as it is, and we never assist.
Yeah.
Especially people with disabilities, it's something that people don't like to talk about, and if they do talk about, they talk little of them, or they don't think of them as equals.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what you've said is that the deaf people never heard a khutbah before. That the individual never heard the khutbah. That these people are straying away from the religion. It's not for Dave or Norman to or some non-Muslim to provide that help for them.
Yeah.
Yes, we do actually have non-Muslim organizations helping people with disabilities like that. But why aren't we having Muslim organizations helping with disabilities? We do have some, so I'm not gonna tarnish the name of some of them. But as a community, we don't do enough for our own community here.
Yeah.
We don't have to be in poverty. Disability is such a main aspect of it, because when we obviously look at it, we say obviously the people that struggle the most, will be granted the most as well in Islam, in terms of the hereafter.
Yeah.
They struggle the most, that's why, somebody who's struggling the most, that, Allah's testing them, Allah loves them as well. And it comes to that point as, all right, okay, these people are struggling as well, but we and it's upsetting just to obviously hear that we don't do enough for our own community. So and it's something like, oh well, they're still in this country, other people can help, they
Yeah,
can get
yeah,
other
yeah.
resources, but we as Muslims have the duty to help our own.
Yeah, no, they
We
have
can't
rights
expect
over
anyone,
us.
we can't expect
Yeah.
others to look after us when we can't look after ourselves.
It is. I mean, like what you said just now about, in Islam, we understand that people who are going through struggle are going to be more rewarded.
Yeah,
But on the same token, even though that's a test for them,
yeah,
something my dad used to always say to me is like, that's their test.
yeah,
But the people that's got the money and got
yeah,
the resources, your test is, well, what have you done for them?
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, if in your local community now there are people struggling, you're going to be answerable for that.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what did you do to
Yeah.
help them? Did you do anything, or did you just sit back and hope that somebody else is going to do something? So if you can't just walk away lightly saying, "Oh, that's their test." Yeah, that's fine. That is their test. Living in poverty or living with a disability, maybe. But then your test is you're failing on your test, which is to help your local community, and that is part of our deen, right? It's always
Yeah,
about
one
helping
hundred
others.
percent. And when we say struggle, we kind of think, when we hear Muslims struggling, we think financially.
Yeah.
We never think mentally.
No.
And this is something that and this is why I bring it up in everything is mental health as well. Our mental understanding. A lot of people struggle mentally, and we look at why people move away from Deen is because they struggle and they've not had the support. They've not had the help. Now we'll talk obviously from brothers who are in prison who now, for whatever crimes they've committed, Allah will judge them accordingly. But some of the people, they don't have that support in prison,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of brothers that move away from the Deen, right? Move away from the Deen. There's people at home who have had family issues that move away from the Deen because they've not had the help. Like you said, the brothers who are deaf, they struggle with the Deen because there's not enough there to help them with. And I think obviously we're coming to the segment where we talk about mental health, and especially just in general as a whole world, as a male versus female, men tend to have this, this ethos of, just hiding emotion, not talking about it, being a man. It's been there all the time. So only recently we actually talk about mental health. We actually have that talk about mental health, and we see that statistically men commit more suicide than women do. Men have obviously that feeling of obviously being the provider, being the breadwinner. Yes, we live in 2021. Women can be the breadwinner as well, but
Yeah.
however, it's built in. It's genetically built in. As a man that does everything, and when he can't do things, he doesn't show, "I can't do it." He just feels that inside. On top of that, we're in a, you know, our background, whether it's Indian, Pakistani, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
sub-Saharan Africa, for example, we don't look at the at mental health or mental struggles. We call it mental struggles as an issue, and I think we do because everyone going through a struggle from the Islamic perspective. Everyone going through a struggle financially, going through family, going through maybe divorce, going through, anything, going through anything at home, just arguments with a brother or sister. How much that has an effect on them mentally. And obviously, I want to talk to you about, obviously we've had COVID as well, and what we've seen is there's been a big spike in COVID. With mental health in the period of COVID,
Yeah.
and it's only because everyone's at home and everyone's kind of not focused with the world as so much that it's been talked about recently. But let it go back to normality, where there's everyone going back out again. It'll be a topic not talked about, but what someone want to continue talking about. And as obviously, I just want to know whether have you. And before I ask you, and obviously we know that what I've seen is obviously through our previous guests on here, those that who kind of have their life around mental fitness, for example, mental health. So fitness helps with the mental health.
Yeah.
And obviously, just want to obviously, if you're willing to share, if you've had any struggles with mental health pre-COVID, post-COVID, has cycling stopped that, kind of put that away, kind of pushed away any issues of mental health because obviously how it mentally stimulates you, the
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah, no, you've actually brought up a very, very interesting subject here. I mean, just before I go into it, we talked about with our community as well. I mean, just generally, I think with mental health, people generally struggle to kind of give its credit of the seriousness that it is. With our Asian community, it's even worse.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly because with mental health is something that is not visible.
Yeah.
Like you and I may look completely normal, we're doing our normal stuff, but one of us could be going through some serious mental health issues. But from the outside of things, it looks, we both look similar in that sense, what we're doing. And people tend to don't give that seriousness. Are they thinking, he's just going through some little period. He'll bounce back again, right? And the other thing is just I think in our culture, the problem is like just keep it hush hush, just keep it under the thingy. If you don't address it, it'll somehow just go away. It's almost like how just keep your head buried in the sand. The issue will just go over and that's it. By addressing it, you have to identify it and you have to deal with it, and it becomes a bit messy. So for me personally, mental health, and if I'm honest with you, I never actually understood the concept of mental health before. Um, I know in my workplace in the last couple of years, it's always been a lot talked about mental health, work-life balance, and all that sort of stuff. And if I'm honest, I never understood the real concept behind it. The way I saw it was okay, people that got mental health issues are the ones that are serious cases where they literally can't tell difference between reality sometimes. Is the that was my ignorance of things. That's how I sort of understood, and I never knew there was any other side of mental health. And then when COVID, when lockdown started this time last year, um, obviously I started. I've never worked from home before. I'm at home, and my line of work, and I work in the global investment side. It's one of those where it's a very pressured job. Even at work, you know, we're like need our own little space, and we need to, and can make a lot of mistakes, and it can be really costly. So now I've suddenly, almost like literally actually overnight, I find myself in my room with two laptops and all that stuff's been set up. Literally, the day before I was in the office, suddenly I'm in my room now. I've got 4 kids. I've got like 10-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, right? Now they're in the house. Wife's working from home now. Now we're in a room like this size studio, and she's working there. I'm working there, and we've got 4 kids in the house. And my work pressure is building up. And next minute, I know my son's around. He's touching a laptop. He's trying to pull the cable, and it's just there. And I think that's just general thing about being in lockdown now. Suddenly, after about a week or two, I realized where I'm not doing my usual stuff anymore. Cooped up at home, trying to go in the garden. It kind of dawned on me about my mental health. Like I was really, really struggling. Obviously, and as you said, men struggle more, and I'm definitely guilty of that. Is don't want to talk to anyone about it. Didn't want to talk to my wife about it. She's like, yeah, no, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. Because I think the way I look at it is, look, I can't be showing my weakness here. Like, I need to have the
Yeah.
strength to carry the family out there. So when my wife used to sit there talking about, oh my God, this lockdown, this, I'm like, don't worry, look, it'll be fine. You'll go over it. We just have to stay. We've got no. I'm trying to give her that sort of courage and the strength. But in my head, when I'm by myself, I'm asking the same questions to myself. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know how long I can go on like this for. Like I'm fine, because I couldn't. I think it's only then I really understood the concept of mental health. It's not always what I thought the extreme case of mental
Yeah.
health. Stuff that's going in my head, this anxiety,
Yeah.
this is. I'm in a constant state of restlessness. Right, my mind is not at rest. There's things. Unless I'm at work, which is keeping me busy, which is not very healthy either. When I'm not at work, then I find myself in my own world, and this feeling of anxiety and restlessness was one of my main thing. And I was talking to my manager about it. I said, look, I think I'm suffering here because after probably about 5 6 weeks. I said, no, I think I'm suffering here because I just realized my life just been turned upside down. Like I'm not going to my parents' house. I pass my parents' house and I just sit in the car and I'm waving at them. Again, my mom's like not understanding what's going on, and all of that sort of stuff. And I said, sometimes when I just lie there in the garden, and it almost feels like somebody, when you open up a can of Coke, bottle of Coke, and your fizz comes out. It
Yeah.
almost sometimes felt like the pressure comes off for a period when I can find some sort of peace, whether I'm through my religion, recitation, and everything. I can find some sort of peace. Other than that, it's almost like every day pressure builds up again. And I think just not knowing where things were heading. And I just admitted that I'm different. And that since then, everyone that I talked to, and I spoke to my managers, I spoke to my colleagues, I said, look, I really understand now what it means. And I think for me, as you touched on, cycling definitely helped. One thing, because I used to commute to work as well. So, for example, I do annual mileage of like 8,000 miles a year on my bike. But that's a lot of it is my commute. So I'd have like a 10, 15 mile commute every day. But that's gone out the window since lockdown. But I realized that during the lockdown last year, people saw me cycling more. And what I was doing was actually, I finished work and I actually cycled to my workplace and I actually cycled back home again.
Okay.
I just found peace like that. I just found that whole breakdown, right? Obviously, one was the physical side where I'm sitting at home all day, work finishes, home time starts, but I'm still in the same place and I just couldn't differentiate anymore. That helped. And just purely going out there cycling, instead of using the mental energy, I'm using more physical energy and that's diverting away. So even a few months back, I had a meeting with appointment with a doctor from Bupa, and he exactly said he goes, you know what, this is what's going to help. That's what's probably helping you, and will help you more is because the chemical that your body releases when you do some sort of physical activities. And one thing he touched on was that he goes, when you feel the sense of achievement. So he goes, when you go on cycling and you finish cycling, and I said that's exactly what I found was when I'm cycling, I'm not enjoying it because I've just had a tiring day and everything. But once I've done it and I've come home and I put the bike away, having a shower, and look back, it's like, no, I just. And then I realized, like, I actually feel really good. And he said it's from that your body releases hormones, chemicals that actually makes you feel happy again and makes you feel good. And he goes, to be honest with you, with mental health, the key is some doing things physical, and sports is something they've always talked about. So since then now, because cycling for me to be a sort of reasonable distance, it has to take me at least 2 3 hours, and I can't do that almost every day. So what I've done is now I'm now taking up jogging, something I can do within half an hour. So what I do to help with my mental health is that at work or when I'm at home, working from home, at my lunch break, I straight away put my trainers on and I go for a jog for half an hour. I come back and by the time I come back, have a shower, have my lunch, and that I find it brilliantly breaks my day down. It's almost like if you think of mental health or the pressure, mental health pressure gauge, right? As I'm at work and the whole lockdown thing just builds it up during the day, me taking the halfway break at lunchtime, going for a run, almost not resets it completely, but brings it down to normal level.
Yeah.
That allows me to continue the rest of my day at office on a normal level sort of thing. Otherwise, I'll be always on the high level, like banging to the right, to the overload level sort of thing. So that helped me a lot breaking it. As much as just like you hate cycling, right?
Yeah.
I hate running. I really do with passion. But I only took it up because it's something I can do within a short space of time and it's quick. I can go at lunchtime, come back and continue my work. And it's helped me. So, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So it's okay for sharing.
Nah, barakallah.
Because it's always good to just to see. It's not good to see others. It's not that it's good to see others, but it's
Good to see others being open and
open about
talking
it.
about it.
You actually, it's good to see that it's not just you, and it's not just it's nothing that we should be taboo about in terms of men are struggling. Obviously women are struggling as well, but like I say, like I said, the onus is that the men have that feeling that obviously we've got to hide it, we can't show that
responsibility.
We've got to be strong for everyone else. Whether it's just you, your family, or you don't want to be seen as weak. And unfortunately, it is that it's like I went through quite a bit last year as well myself, as you would have heard on the previous podcast. If that podcast is up, if not, you'll hear it on the next podcast. I haven't released it as of yet. But at the right time I'll post that up. But yeah, and I think it's just something that we should obviously talk about, and I think obviously we take into consideration that obviously find something that you enjoy and continue to do it, and obviously speak up about it. If it's not comfortable with your family, speak to a doctor. If you're not comfortable with a doctor, there's so many free online and a mobile landline services that you can ring, charities that will just listen to you. They don't have to give advice. All you need to do is just vent.
Release it.
Yeah. Men are not good at releasing. When we do release, it's in a form of anger. It's in a form of anger. So when when we're shouting and screaming, there's something wrong with us. Yeah.
Need help.
Yeah, we need help. With women, you can tell with body language and their reaction to you. Men are a bit more different. We keep it bottled up until forget the fizz. It's an explosion, and it's like okay. I was then you think about it after. I was a bit
a bit too late by then.
Yeah. The damage is done, and obviously, I think we're at the end of this now. So Jazakallah khair for coming on. Is there anything else you want to share?
Well, I just want to say, obviously, I hope your listeners or your viewers get some insight to cycling side of things, and helps them to motivate to do things. Like I said, it doesn't just have to be cycling. I think just want to touch on about that is that when we started that 8 years ago, we never actually even understood or comprehend that we're going to be where we are today in terms of with the club members, in terms of what we achieved through cycling, fundraising, and whatnot. I think the best thing about it is whatever you want to start, and let each day, like I was saying that earlier on, I will just focus on each three city as it comes, the challenges, right? I never thought about in 7 years' time because there's no point of taking the extra burden. Every year was a challenge of like, are we able to complete a three city challenge? Are we able to complete a national ride? And now I look back, 8 years or 7 years have just gone. So I only got 3 more years, including this year now. But if I was started thinking about how am I going to do 10 years of three cities, I would have collapsed then,
Yeah.
thinking I can't comprehend that. Like, how am I going to think about the routes to Croatia or Bosnia 5 years ago? What's the point of me thinking about then? I just thought, you know what, let's take each year as it comes. If we can't complete it, we can't complete it. We'll stop where we have to stop, right? And I think this is the main thing: is if anybody is motivated to do anything and you feel like, oh, it's too big, don't think of the bigger picture. Do whatever you have to do for now and let it will build on top of that and you find it a lot more easier as well. So Jazakallah khair for inviting me today.
Barakallahu
And
feek.
I was gonna say, if anybody is interested in cycling, I know you're not,
Who knows?
but
I might just pop up one
you
day.
never
But
know.
let me give it a try.
Okay,
And
and
then go
if you
ahead.
do catch us on our, you can find us on our Facebook, HK Cycle Club, without the and. So HK Cycle Club, we've got the London to Southampton being going to be announced in the next couple of days. That's going to be in 10th of July. Obviously, three city is for the club members. So, but again, the national ride is the one that's for newbies, anybody that wants to come along. Like I said, it's not just cycling; it's the brotherhood, it's the whole, socializing, banter. It's brilliant. The brother Mebs that the day you came across with him, he'll probably tell you the most. He just absolutely loves it. Yeah,
So
that's
thank you
it.
very much for coming on,
No,
and
thank you.
thank you very much for the listeners and viewers for listening and watching. Obviously, you can find us on Instagram. This is our main page, which is moreinspiration.official. From there, you'll see the link in our bio, which will open up to various platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and various other platforms. Like I said, if you guys want to come onto the podcast, you should give us a quick DM. Or if there's something you want to nominate, have them DM us or DM us their details and we can contact them. We're running out of a guest list now, so we could do with an upgrade on the guest list. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.